in an IK-solved joint is that the solver plane remains flat. At no point do you want to move this knee joint sideways. Doing so will create a joint that actually bends through the flat solver plane, which is this point to this point to this point, creating a triangle. If you bend that joint sideways, it will no longer bend towards you in the direction that you expect. I'm going to place the ankle joint as well down where the ankle needs to be. The hip joint is going to be quite high up in the character. You can feel where your hip joint is. You can feel where the bones start for your hip. And they are quite high up. Actually, where I've got it placed is quite good. And we'll see how that is. Once we're actually skinning the character, moving the bones around is very easy with the skin modifier. This is one of the great advantages of using it. For the foot now, let's align the nub bone of the foot up to the bottom of the leg so that it's aligned up and the rotation point is in the same spot. Just do that with position X, Y, and Z. The ball of the foot needs to be somewhere around the toe joints. Now, for this character, if I was going to get really fancy, I would want separate joints for each of the toes so that I could curl the toes individually, separate them out into different animations. If the character was going to have shoes on, there's no need for this really. For this demonstration, we're basically just going to use the single foot roll setup. The toe is going to have to be located somewhere. The toe roll that will make sense. That's going to be out front of the toes somewhere. And again, this becomes a little bit difficult because of the shape of his toes. But I'm going to assume it's going to be about there. Checking our grid, we can make sure that we haven't gone down below the ground plane as we rotate this. You may even want to move it up higher for the try and take into account the curve of the toes. The heel joint we want to place so that we can actually roll the heel up on that pivot point. Placing it somewhere right behind the heel should look pretty good for us. I'm going to turn off bone edit mode now and show you that what I'm going to have is the ability to be able to control the foot from the heel to roll it up onto the heel, control it from the toe to roll it onto the toe, control it by rolling it at the ball, and then eventually having IK solvers on the leg that will bend the knee joint as this lifts. We need one more joint, and that joint actually is going to be a joint for the toes to be able to wiggle the toes up and down. Right now we have no method of being able just to wiggle the toes, and you need to do that often. Good way to do that, I'm going to hold down Shift and rotate and just create myself a new bone. It's still linked up to the system, so I'm just going to unlink it for now, or press the unlink button and to place it where I need. It's also best to have a nub bone on it so we can change the length, and again, create end is perfect for that. Where we want this joint to be is aligned positionally up to the ball of the foot. And then we can set the length of the bone as we're going to need it. It only needs to be close because we can change the size of envelopes and skin weighting as we need. Turn off bone edit mode again. And this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to link this bone back into the system. We want this joint to stay aligned essentially to this toe roll joint. So I'm going to link it to that bone. Now we have the heel roll, toe roll, ball roll,